vast emptiness of space was anything but silent. Fire and light erupted in violent bursts, illuminating the battlefield where humanity made its last stand. Warships clashed in the void, exchanging devastating energy blasts that left trails of destruction in their wake. Explosions rippled across the darkness, consuming vessels in fiery infernos before the cold of space swallowed the wreckage whole. At the heart of the battle, the Independence stood tall, its massive hull gleaming amidst the chaos. On the command deck, Colonel Ryan stood firm, his sharp eyes scanning the holographic tactical display. Every passing second meant survival or annihilation. All units, hold formation! His voice rang out, cutting through the tense atmosphere. Around him, officers worked frantically, fingers racing across control panels. Data scrolled continuously, showing damage reports, shield integrity, and enemy positions. The air was thick with urgency. Lieutenant Ethan, weapon status? Ryan demanded, his tone crisp. Across the bridge, Ethan wiped sweat from his forehead, his fingers twitching over the targeting controls. His heart pounded as he locked onto an enemy vessel weaving through the chaos. The alien ships moved like phantoms, their sleek, shifting forms glowing with an eerie purple light. Every shot they fired was a death sentence for any human vessel in their path. Weapons fully charged, target locked, Ethan reported, his voice tense, awaiting fire command. Ryan's jaw clenched. He heard the strain in Ethan's voice, the rising desperation. They were outmatched, outgunned, but they would not falter. Fire at will. Ethan slammed his hand onto the console. The Independence shuddered as it unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, each shot streaking across the battlefield like blazing comets. Some found their mark, punching through enemy hulls and sending them spinning into fiery oblivion. Others missed, vanishing into the void. A sudden tremor rocked the command deck. Sirens wailed as red warning lights flashed. The ship's shields were failing. "Direct hit on the starboard side," an officer shouted. "Shield integrity at 20% and dropping fast." "We can't hold out much longer," another voice cried over the din. Ryan slammed his fist on the railing. "Lieutenant Carter, I need those shields stabilized. Now!" In the engineering bay, Carter's hands flew over the controls. Sparks showered from overloaded circuits as he fought to reroute power. "Colonel, we've got hull breaches across multiple decks." Carter's voice crackled through the comms. "I need time, but I can't give you what I don't have." Ryan exhaled slowly, forcing down the rising tension. There was no room for fear, no space for hesitation. "Patch me through to the fleet," he ordered. The communications officer nodded swiftly. "You're live, sir." Ryan straightened, his voice cold as steel. "All Allied ships, this is Colonel Ryan. We strike together, target the enemy flagship, and unleash everything you've got." Across the fleet, captains responded with fierce affirmations. In the darkness, human warships adjusted their positions, moving into formation. The sky blazed with synchronized fire, streaks of energy converging on a single target, the alien command ship. The enemy vessel shimmered violently as its shields buckled under the onslaught. Then, with a blinding explosion, the flagship erupted into a fireball of light and debris. For a heartbeat, stunned silence filled the bridge before cheers erupted across the comms. "We did it!" Ethan gasped, gripping his console. "Holy hell, we actually did it!" But Ryan wasn't celebrating. His eyes stayed locked on the tactical display, scanning for any remaining threats. His voice, though quieter, was no less commanding. "Hold formation. Maintain defensive positions," he ordered. "We're not done until every last one of them is gone." The bridge crew snapped back to work, confirming his orders. Ethan exhaled deeply, steadying his nerves. "Understood, sir." Outside the viewport, the battlefield remained a graveyard of shattered ships and dying embers. The war wasn't over. Not yet. But for now, among the endless stars, humanity's unity had become a beacon in the darkness. And as long as they stood together, there was still hope. The command bridge of the Independence pulsed with tension. Holographic displays flickered with tactical data, casting sharp, cold light across the steel-gray walls. At the center stood Captain Marcus Steele, broad-shouldered, sharp-eyed, his expression carved from stone as he took in the battlefield stretching across the void. Outside, space burned. Human warships and alien vessels clashed in a chaotic dance of fire and death. Energy blasts cut through the blackness, leaving trails of molten debris. Explosions bloomed like dying stars, swallowing ships whole before silence reclaimed them. Status report, Steele demanded, his voice a low growl. Lieutenant Reeves, at the tactical station, barely lifted his head. His hands moved with surgical precision across the controls. Shields at 41%, dropping fast. We've lost the Ironclad and Defender. Enemy squadrons are flanking us on the starboard side. Steele's jaw tightened, but his tone remained cold and steady. Reinforce the starboard shields. Keep the fleet tight. I don't want anyone breaking formation without my order. A violent tremor rocked the bridge, sending sparks raining from an overhead panel. Warning sirens howled as the ship shuddered under the impact of another enemy barrage. Direct hit on the aft engines, an officer shouted. Propulsion is failing. We're losing speed. Steele turned sharply to the engineering console. Lieutenant Monroe, I need that engine stabilized. Now. Monroe's voice crackled through the comms, tense but focused. I'm working on it, Captain, but if we push the core any harder, we risk a meltdown. Then risk it, Steele snapped. If we stop moving, we're dead anyway. At the weapons station, Ensign Cole's fingers hovered over the targeting controls, his breath shallow. The alien ships were terrifying, sleek, predatory, their black hulls glowing with eerie violet light as they cut through human ranks like blades through flesh. Main cannons charged, Cole reported. I have a lock on the enemy battlecruiser. Steele didn't hesitate. Fire. The ship groaned as the cannons unleashed a barrage of energy, blazing like comets through the darkness. The blast struck home, tearing through the alien cruiser's hull in a cascade of fire. It drifted briefly, broken, before detonating into a cloud of twisted metal. For a heartbeat, the bridge was silent, but the battle was far from over. Captain! Reeves called out, his voice sharp. Multiple enemy reinforcements approaching from Sector 7, 20 ships, maybe more. Steele's fists clenched behind his back. The alien forces were relentless, but retreat was not an option. Not now. Patch me through to the fleet, he ordered. A communications officer nodded briskly. You're live, sir. Steele straightened, his voice cutting through the chaos like steel. This is Captain Steele to all Allied ships. Hold your ground. We don't fall back. We fight together, or we die alone. Target their command ship and hit it with everything you've got. Across the comms, voices rang out in affirmation. Damaged, outnumbered, but unyielding, the human fleet moved as one, adjusting formation, weapons primed. The void ignited. A storm of energy blasts tore toward the alien command ship, its shimmering shields faltering under the relentless assault. For a tense moment it held, but then the vessel exploded in a blinding eruption, casting debris in every direction. A ragged cheer broke across the comms. We did it! Cole gasped, his voice trembling with disbelief. The flagship is down! Steele didn't flinch. His eyes remained locked on the tactical display, scanning for any remaining threats. His voice dropped to a cold command. Maintain defensive positions. We're not finished until every last one of them is gone. The crew snapped back to work, the weight of victory tempered by the knowledge that the fight was far from over. Beyond the viewport, the battlefield stretched like a graveyard, shattered ships drifting among the stars. The war wasn't won. Not yet. But as long as the Independence stood, humanity would keep fighting. On the communication screen, the image of Admiral Ewan Addy appeared sharply. His angular face was stern, his gaze as sharp as steel. Behind him, the command bridge of the flagship Valiant buzzed with activity, officers moving swiftly under the soft glow of blinking control panels. Captain Van Cleef, his voice was calm, yet filled with authority. You are to hold the line. No unidentified vessel is to cross the border. Captain Elias Van Cleef stood tall on the bridge of the USS Resolute, his uniform crisp and his cold blue eyes unwavering. He saluted sharply, his response immediate and firm. Understood, Admiral. Nothing will get through. The screen faded to black, leaving only the soft hum of the tactical displays. Van Cleef turned back to the crew, his gaze sweeping over his officers, each one fully aware of the growing tension along the border. Lieutenant Harris, his voice cut through the silence, scan the entire border sector. I want to know if anything, no matter how small, enters our space. Lieutenant Maya Harris nodded, her fingers dancing over the console. A three-dimensional map of the border expanded on her screen, glowing dots marking the positions of Allied patrol ships. Scanning sectors Alpha through Delta. No anomalies detected, she reported. Van Cleef gave a slight nod, but kept his eyes fixed on the main display, where the vast empty border stretched into the blackness of space. He knew too well this silence would not last. From the weapons station, Lieutenant Marcus Drake spoke in a steady, no-nonsense tone. "Main cannons are fully charged, Captain. We're ready to fire at your command." "Good," Van Cleef replied coolly. "But no one fires without my direct order. We're not starting a war, but if they cross that line, we'll be ready." A tense silence settled over the bridge. Every officer knew how fragile the situation was. One wrong move could ignite a conflict that would consume the galaxy. Suddenly, Harris's console flashed red. Her voice sharpened with urgency. "Captain, unidentified contact at coordinates 374 Delta, vessel approaching the restricted zone." Van Cleef stepped closer, his expression hardening. "Magnify the image." The main screen shifted, revealing a shadowy vessel. Its sleek black hull shimmered with eerie purple veins of light, clearly not human design. It drifted forward, slow but deliberate. Distance? 15,000 kilometers in closing, Harris confirmed. Van Cleef inhaled deeply, his voice steady and decisive. "Open a communication channel. Send a direct warning." "Signal transmitted, Captain," the communications officer replied. No response. The tension thickened. All eyes were locked on the mysterious vessel as it crept closer to the border. Van Cleef's voice cut through the heavy silence, calm, cold, and unyielding. "Prepare for combat. No one crosses this line." "Captain Van Cleef, hold your position. No unidentified vessel is allowed to cross the border. Understood?" "Understood, sir. I won't let them take another step." The communication screen faded, leaving only the cold blue glow of the control panels. On the bridge of the USS Resolute, the tension hung thick. Captain Elias Van Cleef clasped his hands behind his back, his sharp gaze sweeping over his officers. "All units, hold your positions. Be prepared for anything." Radar off. "Sir, detecting an unidentified fleet approaching the border. No identification signals." Van Cleef spun around, his brows knitting together as he strode toward the tactical display. Blinking red markers flashed, indicating the foreign ships breaching the perimeter. What are they doing here without prior notice? Distance? 20,000 kilometers and closing. Speed remains steady. Open a communication channel. Send an immediate warning. Signal transmitted. No response, sir. The bridge fell into a tense silence. Every eye focused on the mysterious vessels steadily advancing toward the border. "Intensify energy scans. I want to know if their weapons are active." Lieutenant Harris. "No active weapon signatures detected, but their structure doesn't match any known design." Raise alert to level 1. Weapons officer. "Main cannons are fully charged, sir. Awaiting your command." Hold your fire. No one fires without my direct order. On the main screen, the alien fleet crept closer, strange purple veins glowing along their sleek hulls. The tension on the bridge thickened with every passing second. Still no response, sir. If they want to test us, they'll find out the hard way. "Captain, one of the vessels is accelerating, heading straight for us." Lock onto the target. If they cross the border, take them down. Target locked, sir. The bridge held its breath as the alien vessel advanced. One wrong move would spark a war. "They won't get through." A low, crackling sound filled the communication channel before a deep, strained voice emerged. "Our fleet is in distress. We require immediate assistance." The bridge of the USS Resolute fell into a heavy silence. The alien fleet, once an ominous threat, now seemed fractured and vulnerable on the tactical display. Captain Elias Van Cleef narrowed his eyes, his jaw tightening as he processed the unexpected plea. "Unclear. Van Cleef, hold your position. We can't trust their words without proof." "Understood, sir. Holding position." The comlink crackled again, and the alien leader's voice returned, fainter this time, laced with urgency. "We mean no harm. Our systems are failing. If you do not assist us, we will not survive." Van Cleef's gaze remained locked on the alien vessels drifting toward the border. Their strange, purple-glowing hulls flickered sporadically, signs of internal malfunctions. Despite the apparent distress, the captain's instincts refused to lower his guard. Status on their Harris, checking sensors. Still no active signatures. Energy output is fluctuating wildly. They're barely holding together. No signs of deception, Captain. Their signal is consistent with a failing power core. Van Cleef tapped his fingers against the railing, his mind racing. If it was a trap, letting them cross the border would be catastrophic. But if their distress was real, turning them away could mean condemning an entire fleet to death. They could be bluffing, or they could be dying. Admiral Ewan Addy, I know what you're thinking, Van Cleef, but our duty is to protect the border first. Do not take risks. Aye, sir. The alien vessel at the front of the formation trembled violently, a plume of energy bursting from its side as systems overloaded. Sparks of violet fire scattered into the void. Please, I beg you, we only seek refuge. Van Cleef inhaled deeply, his decision hanging heavy. One wrong call could doom them all. Maintain defensive posture. Prepare a medical team. Stand by for potential survivors. Sir? If this is a trap, I'll take responsibility. But if it isn't, we may be their only chance. The bridge held its breath as the alien fleet drifted closer, broken and fragile against the cold expanse of space. Open a secure corridor. Let them in. But stay ready. We're not out of danger yet. The alarm blares, shifting to emergency status. Human warships ignite the void with relentless fire. Open fire. All units maintain tactical formation. Explosions thunder across the battlefield, brilliant flashes illuminating the darkness of space. The deck trembles under the intensity of the battle. Communications officer. Captain, our losses are mounting rapidly. Several outer defense ships have been destroyed. Initiate a tactical retreat. Transmit all combat data to command now. The USS Resolute pivots, engines flaring as it maneuvers through the chaos. Alien ships, sleek and deadly, swarm like predators, their energy blasts cutting through human defenses. Enemy vessels are pursuing. They're focusing on our flanks. Redirect shield power to the aft sections. Keep our vulnerable points covered. The bridge trembles again as another barrage slams into the hull. Red warning lights flash across every panel, but Van Cleef remains unshaken. Captain, our main thrusters are overheating. We won't last at this pace. Cool the secondary arrays and reroute power from non-critical systems. We're not going down yet. Incoming message from Admiral Addy. He's requesting a status update. Patch him through. The Admiral's face appears on the flickering comm screen, his expression grim. Van Cleef, you're taking heavy fire. Can you hold the line? We're holding, but not for long. I'm initiating a counteroffensive. If we don't push back now, we're finished. Understood. I'm deploying reinforcements. Buy us time. Aye, sir. The screen goes dark. Van Cleef turns back to his crew, his voice cold and unwavering. Reorganize the formation. Prepare for a counterattack. Sir, if this fails, it won't. We hold the line no matter the cost. The ship hums as power surges through its systems. On the tactical display, human vessels shift into a new aggressive formation, ready to strike back. All units, charge weapons. We take the fight to them. The bridge crew moves with renewed focus, the hum of energy building as the human fleet prepares to turn the tide. In the heart of chaos, one thing is clear. Van Cleef will not yield. Triumphant music swells. Human warships suddenly shift formation, launching a fierce and relentless assault. The enemy's in disarray. We've got an opening. All units, full assault. Don't give them a chance to recover. Axe blasts roar through the void as human vessels unleash a coordinated strike. Explosions ripple across the alien fleet, tearing through their defenses. Enemy flagship is losing power. Their formations are breaking apart. Keep the pressure on. Focus fire on their command ships. The USS Resolute leads the charge, its energy cannons blazing. Alien ships attempt to regroup but are overwhelmed by the relentless offensive. Shields holding at 60%. Captain, we're taking hits, but they're weakening. Good. Don't let up. We finish this, here and now. A massive explosion erupts as the enemy's central battleship is engulfed in flames. Debris scatters into the void as the alien fleet begins to crumble. Captain, multiple enemy ships retreating. What are your orders? Let them run. They know what happens if they return. The hum of battle begins to fade. Fires flicker across the remains of the alien armada, their once mighty fleet reduced to drifting wreckage. Tactical officer, sir, their superweapon is offline. It's over. We've won. A heavy silence falls over the bridge as the weight of victory sinks in. For a moment, no one speaks. Then, Van Clef's, well done. Today, we showed them the power of unity. The crew exchanges weary but triumphant glances. The tension lifts as the reality of their victory sets in. Incoming message from Admiral Addy. He's requesting a full report. Tell him, mission accomplished. Cut to. The human fleet glides through the star-specked void, majestic and unyielding. Their lights gleam against the darkness, a symbol of resilience and triumph. We held the line, and we'll hold it again if we must. The camera lingers on the fleet as it moves forward, victorious but ever watchful. Epic music swells as the human fleet sails triumphantly through the endless void, the remains of the alien armada drifting behind them. Under the decisive leadership of Captain Van Cleef, humanity has claimed a glorious victory. But is this truly the end, or just the beginning of a new war? The screen fades to black, leaving only the glowing insignia of the human fleet. If you want to uncover what happens next, don't miss out. Subscribe to the channel to follow the epic journey. Like the video if you enjoyed the battle. Share it with fellow space adventurers, and join us as the next chapter unfolds. The battle may be over, but the story is far from finished. The screen flashes "Coming soon" in bold, glowing letters before fading to the subscribe button prompt.